And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these 3 questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street.
And it's always a pleasure to be in your company today. And in case you say, well, this background looks a little different, well, it is, because I am not in the studio today. I'm actually broadcasting from home today. And that's because this weekend I came down with some kind of bug. And, sniffles and a little fever and coughing and all that kind of stuff. So I decided, in the abundance of caution, to just broadcast from home today until I feel better. And I'm just grateful for technology, which allows me to do that. So I'm coming to you from home today. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll be back on my feet and back in the studio. And so today on the show, we are talking about mindset. Mindset makeover for a successful life is the topic or the theme of today's show. And my guest is someone who is brilliant when it comes to helping us to understand mindset and really, understand what we need to do to create a healthier mindset to be able to achieve the kind of results that we're looking to achieve in life, in spite of what's going on around us. She is known as the Limitless Life Coach, and she is none other than Simmone L. Bowe, longtime friend. Simmone, welcome to the new show, Global Paradigm. Yes, it's always a pleasure to have you because I just glean from you every single time, and I'm looking forward to the nuggets that you're going to be bringing our audience today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's good to see you. Good to be on the show again.
I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here, but I can't hear her from my end. So this is going to be, I couldn't hear the intro either. I'm not sure what I am not doing right because it's going to be vital that I can hear her. My audio is turned all the way up, so I know it's not that. So guys in the studio, if you can sort of send me a message to let me know what I need to do to ensure that that I can hear, that would be helpful. So
can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
That I want us to play. That'll give us about 2 minutes or so. And this clip is all about, understanding the power of your mindset, why mindset is so important if you are hoping to achieve good success. So let's go to clip number 1, guys, while we work on the audio challenges.
The thing that I would do for you, if I could, is I would teach you how to think correctly. You see, the largest gap between successful and unsuccessful people in life is the thinking gap. I'm not talking about being smart. I'm not talking about an IQ. I'm talking about how you think, how I think. Successful people think differently than unsuccessful people. Wise thinking leads to right living. Stupid thinking leads to wrong living. How true that is.
You're not just a product of your environment. You're a product of all that surrounds you in your environment. That includes the people, your beliefs, the TV you watch, the newspapers you read, the friends you have, the movies you watch, your hobbies, your interests, your family. everything else that you are involved with influences your environment.
Self-esteem is the bedrock of high performance. It's the bedrock of everything. And it's the least thing that is taught in schools. You are who you hang around with. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. The first self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. Who are you around the first 7 or 8 years of life? Mom, maybe dad, older brother, uncle, a grandmother, right? What the hell do they know about building self-esteem? They don't know anything. And now, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Who do you go hang with? Who do you chill with? Bill Gates doesn't hang. Steve Jobs, who I knew, didn't chill. Warren Buffett doesn't hang. Elon Musk doesn't hang. And I go down the list of people that don't hang. So the people that you're now associating with, would you want your children to be like your 2 best buddies or 2 best gal friends, whatever you call it? Would you? Probably not. Would you even want your children to be like you? Probably not. So why is there so little being done about it?
Good question, Simmone. We often look at our circumstances and we find a way to blame everything and everyone and everything around us without taking a moment to look in the mirror to see how we have contributed to the circumstances that we find ourselves in. And so I really thought that it was important for us to do a show on the mindset makeover as early as I could in the new year, because I want people to understand that, yes, there are some things that are beyond your control, but whereas you can't necessarily control everything around you, you can definitely control the way you respond to everything around you. So how important is having a good mindset when it comes to strategizing for success?
It's critical, Michelle, because everything that we do, everything that we are is based on our belief system. And that is what shapes our mindset. And as the video said, everything around us contributes to that belief system. So if we want to have a lifestyle of success, if we want to do things that we've dreamed about, if we have already established what our purpose is in life, then everything that we think will shape the trajectory of that and how successful we will actually be. So it's very important, as you call it, to have a mindset makeover, to first of all do an audit of how you think. I often say when I make presentations or talk with clients that you have to think about what you're thinking about. And so often in life, we go on autopilot. We do so many things based on routine and habit and subconscious prodding that we don't always pay attention to what we are thinking about, to what we believe, because it will, beyond a shadow of a doubt, shape how we think, which therefore feeds what we do or what we don't do. So we can talk all we like. We can say all of these affirmations and say, I am brilliant, I am smart, I am successful, I'm wealthy, all of these things. But if we don't believe it, and if we don't marry that with action, then we're only going to be dreaming about success and not actually living the successful life that we desire.
Wow. I really don't know if people understand how powerful that is. Late last year, had an opportunity to go to a leadership retreat event. And a great portion of that training was about mindset. And one of the things that we were taught is that, we are, I call it walking wounded. We are all walking wounded. We all have some kind of event or events from our past that wounded us. And whether we realize it or not, we have allowed those wounds to shape our view of ourselves and the world around us. Mm-hmm. And as you just pointed out, no matter how much you say something, if you don't get to the core of the issue, to identify those wounds and understand how they are impacting your life, you will always be stuck in that place of just outside of success, just not getting there. You will always listen. I found it so powerful because some certain things you wouldn't even have thought about that would be impacting your life even today.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's so important to identify what those things are, and then do the work to get to work through that, to get through these issues, so that you can move on with your life.
And I'm so glad you said that, Michelle, because a lot of people do not want to do the work. Personal development and personal transformation is not an easy road. It just isn't, because you are facing things in yourself that you probably would like to forget. And so a lot of times we spend time immersed in activity and busyness, right? Busyness is truly the thing that will keep us away from personal and self-reflection. And self-reflection, spending time with ourselves, self-awareness, understanding who we are and why we are critical to us, first of all, identifying what those places of trauma are in our lives. And for many of us, it is from our childhood in some form or fashion. And as a matter of fact, I have friends who are coaches who actually specialize in taking you as far back as the womb.
Wow.
Taking you as far back as even before the womb to what we would call generational. Sometimes we call them generational curses and generational blessings. But there's a generational transfer sometimes of trauma.
Wow.
And so if your grandmother went through a particular trauma, and sometimes it's an unconscious learning and assimilating of it, but sometimes we are taught pain. So from the very outset, we are taught to be fearful. We are taught to be angry. We are taught to be suspicious, right? We are taught those things, whether it's outright or overtly, covertly, whatever it is. It just assimilated in our environment based on how people think. And you're right. It could be as small as, this may sound small for some, but it's big for others. Having a very busy parent. Having a very busy parent can equate to the mind of a child neglect and abandonment. And so they can grow in life feeling like the people that I love are going to leave me, or they're not going to be there for me. They're not going to support me. And you are a health coach as well, so you will relate to this. Sometimes our trauma and our emotions also play out in our bodies.
For sure.
And so sometimes we think that we're walking around with certain illnesses, but they are really emotionally triggered illnesses or aches and pains in our body. I'll never forget, and most busy people tend to have pain in their shoulder areas here, the neck, the upper back. Now, some of that may be posture because we're always hunched on a computer or a device, but sometimes that can also be attached to suppressed and unexpressed issues. I'll never forget, I had a massage one time. I always share this story because I found it to be so profound. And she was a very, I would say, perhaps prophetic, intuitive, whatever word you want to call. But as she was doing this, working in and coming to my shoulder area, where I tell you, my muscles here would be like rocks. It would be so tight and bunched up. And when she got to that area, she started working that area. She said, you need to express yourself more. You need to communicate more. And I was like, what? I was in total amazement. Like, what in the world are you saying? So, and she was right. Because at that stage of my life, I was under a lot of stress. I was going through a lot personally. I was in a very difficult marriage, and I had a high pressure job. And so I tended to, up to that point in my life, hold things in. And don't a lot of people hold things in? We don't express things because we feel either afraid to express, we feel afraid that we're going to lose relationship if we really say how we feel. We feel we may lose a job if we really say how we feel. So we hold a lot of things in. And so in holding that in, at that time, I was having issues with fluctuating blood pressure. I was having acid reflux, and I had these very tense shoulders because I was holding in. And so all of those things I had to unravel, starting with beliefs. Why is it that I felt like I couldn't communicate properly? And then that affected my success. It affected how I showed up in my relationships, at work, everything.
That was so much just now. I'm going to have to unpack that in sections. One of the things you talked about, my God, was being taught wounds, being taught pain or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's a book called The Path by Lori Beth Jones.
Yes, very familiar.
You have to read that book, because one of the things that book does is it helps you to identify your parents' what she called cup of pain.
Yes.
And she explains in the book that, like I said, we're all walking wounded. So your parents have their own wounds that they would have to deal with. And what we tend to do is we tend to want to transfer our wounds to our children from a place of wanting to protect them.
Yes, absolutely right.
Right?
Absolutely right.
My mother, for instance, she was business administration. She worked in that area for most of her life. And she wanted me to do that because for her, that was security.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to her, but that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to be. And we went through the back and forth until, for my first year of college, I tried to do it her way. I was failing miserably. And then when she saw my grades, she, wanted to tear off my head. And I said to her, but you're not letting me be who I want to be.
Yep.
If you let me be who I want to be, then you will see an improvement in my grades.
Yes.
And finally she was like, okay, do it. And I went from, below average student to dean's list every semester because I was doing what I love.
Yes.
But I understand why because that was her cup of pain.
And that's her fear.
And that's her fear.
So
that's
clearly something in her life made her feel very unstable and uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And so she craved security.
Exactly. And so that is just, one example of what you're talking about in terms of generational wounds being passed on. And
also parents' unfinished business, Michelle.
Yes.
So in your mother's example is a perfect example, right? But then it could also play out in her unfinished desires, unfulfilled desires. I actually had the opportunity to meet Lori Beth and actually went through the training of The Path to teach people how to write their mission statements for their life and their work. Another friend of mine, we both went for that training. So I had the opportunity to actually go through all of those things that she has in the book. And one of the things that she talked about is the parents' unlived life, their unfulfilled dreams.
They want to live it through you.
They want to live it through you. They want to live vicariously through you. And so sometimes I saw it as I started my career as an educator and then moving into HR and talking, having career coaching and all of that. And I see what you described. So many young people go through that, and parents will tell them, I am paying for this college education, so you will study what I say. And if you don't study what I say, I'm not paying for it. And they put children in this position of being so unhappy, so unfulfilled. I just shared last night on a show I was on that I personally don't believe in the midlife crisis. I feel that people just get to a point in their life where they're like, enough is enough. I am not living this fake life anymore. I am living my truth. And so I am done with trying to pretend to be who I am not. And so we have to be so careful about that. I had to do that in that exercise because I felt like I wanted to continue a path that my father started.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was very active in politics and so forth. And I always had this thing that I wanted to get into politics. I wanted to be a politician and all of that stuff. And when I went through that program with Laurie Beth Jones, I questioned that desire.
Mm.
And I said, do you really want to do this? Or is this something that you feel like you need to carry this torch for your dad?
To show love.
To show love,
Yes.
to prove something that, we'll be successful in this area or whatever that was. Like, I was carrying his pain.
Wow.
Because he was unfinished in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Another thing that you touched on. Wow. Sometimes it's not so much a passing on of wounds as it is you taking on something that is not necessarily reality, but it's reality for you. Mm-hmm. I'll use myself as an example again. So keep in mind that my parents separated when I was a baby. Never divorced, but separated when I was a baby. So clearly I had some issues with abandonment, and I wasn't able to identify that until later in life. But there was an incident that happened when I was a little girl. I must have been about 5 years old, but I remember that thing as if it happened yesterday.
Wow.
And this is a great example of people taking on something that is not a reality, but your perception tells you that that's your reality. And I believe that this helped to also, shape my life. But I remember being a little girl. It's a funny story. I remember being a little girl walking downtown with my mother. I remember this so clearly. I think we were on Frederick Street. That's how much this memory ingrained in me, right? A friend comes up to her, and the friend says, they're having a conversation. And the friend says, "Oh, did you hear about Shirley? Shirley lost her baby." And my mom says, "Yeah, I heard. That's so sad." She says, "But she's young. She'll be able to have other children." Now, in my 5-year-old mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, a baby is lost and nobody's looking for this baby. I look up at my mother like, is this woman serious?
Oh my God. And then she says she'll get another one, just like it's so replaceable.
She'll have other children. And the thing that said to me was, sweet girl, you on your own. Because if you get lost, ain't nobody coming to look for you.
Wow. Wow.
5 years old.
That's not even funny. That's not a funny story. That is so
but
serious. It's not.
And I think that was reinforced because of the abandonment issues I had, even at that young age. And I only wish at that age that I had pulled my mother aside and say, "Mommy, but I never did that."
No, but you wouldn't understand that at 5 years old, though.
No.
To be able to even ask her about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So I internalized, nobody's coming. Wow. You got to do it on your own. You are on your own. You can't rely on anybody else.
Oh my God.
Nobody's coming to rescue you.
Wow. Oh my God. Girl, I can feel this right now.
Would you believe that I didn't uncover that as one of my triggers, as a wound, until I did that event last year?
Yeah.
It never dawned on me.
Yeah.
That was something that I was carrying.
Yep.
And it was a 3-day event, and while we were going through this event, they encouraged us, take some time to just think and internalize and bring back everything. And that thing came to me and hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
My mother didn't mean anything by it. No. Obviously, that was not true. It was not reality, but that was my reality.
Yes.
That's what I internalized. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You are on your own.
Wow.
You got to get this done by yourself.
Wow. That is so powerful, Michelle.
I'm telling you.
That is so powerful. That is like,
I just figured that out last year.
wow.
So I say all that to say that we really, like you said, it's work. We really have to do the work of trying to figure out what are the wounds that I'm carrying from my past, whether inflicted by someone else or self-inflicted.
Yes.
And we have to identify those wounds and then take the action to make a shift, to explain to yourself and that's not real.
Yeah.
That even if it happened, that's the past. We should not allow that to continue to affect our present and our future.
Yeah.
One of the things that we had to do in that exercise is she made us carry around a box. We had to identify our, I think, 8 biggest fears. Fear of abandonment, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of success, because you can be afraid of success
I
as
have
well.
the fear of success. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had to write these fears down on a big rock and then put the rock in a box, put the rocks in a box. And then we had to carry that box around with us, not allowed to put it down for any reason for days. And after a while, that box became such a burden, so heavy. You're anxious to put it down. She's like, nope, you can't put it down. If you're going to shower, you got to figure out how to shower with that box. If you're going to cook, figure out how to cook with that box. Take the box with you to bed. We could not put the box down.
Wow. I love that exercise.
I know, right? There were certain moments when she said, okay, let's do an exercise. I want you to hold the box out. Just hold it out. After about a minute, your arms feel like they want to drop off. And then what she did was she said, okay, now that you understand the weight that you are carrying, by not getting rid of those fears, now I want you to destroy the box. Destroy those fears. However you choose to do it, it's up to you, but you have to destroy that box. You have to draw a line in the sand and say, today is the day that I'm going to get rid of these fears in my life.
Yeah.
I personally had a funeral. I cremated that box.
Wow.
And said my whole thing, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And I got rid of those. And but and I know they're telling me we have to take a break. But the thing is, what carrying that box around did for me was showed me, whether you realize it or not, this is a weight that you are carrying that is holding you down.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get to the point where you are willing to let go of this weight. Now, on the other side of the break, I want to talk about why some people are resistant to let go of that. And here's what I mean by that. It might be scary to hold on to it, but it's not as scary as the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are staying in bad situations and holding on to these wounds because they're afraid of the unknown. We're going to talk about that on the other side. Stay with us. This is GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466. At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
The Catwalk Boutique helps you step out in style, offering a high-fashion, elegant line of ladies' clothing from petite to plus sizes, from chic casual to dazzling evening wear. Come and visit us in our newly renovated boutique in the Helwan Plaza, Robinson Road. We're also the leading distributors for wholesale and retail on Hetty's pantyhose, as well as wholesale beauty supplies, also offering services to the Family Islands. Call us today at 394-6116 or come and visit us in the Helwan Plaza, Robinson Road, the Catwalk Boutique, where sophistication begins.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Please excuse the sound of my voice, guys. Getting over some kind of bug or something that was going around this weekend. Laurie Butler says, I love this conversation. It's about time we have these types of conversation on air. Thank you so much, Laurie Butler. I agree with you. That's why I decided to do this show today, because, you know, a lot of times we don't understand why we're stuck. We don't understand why we can't get beyond a particular thing or a particular circumstance. When a lot of it has to do perhaps with a wound from your past. And it doesn't have to be childhood. It could be your spouse. It could be a teacher. It could be so many different things or situations or persons who would have had an impact on the way you see yourself and the way you think. And the work for us is to figure out what that thing is. Because you cannot fix what you do not acknowledge. And so the important thing for us is to acknowledge what the wounds are from our past so that we can turn around and fix those. Prior to the break, Simmone, one of the things that I talked about was, excuse me, one of the things that I talked about was fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Some people know that their current situation is not a good one. But the fear of the unknown will keep them in that situation. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was smiling to myself because I always share this example because it was a turning point for me. So when I went to graduate school, I was studying human resource development. And in one of the courses, we did a lot of work on change and consultancy and so forth, organization development, right, which is all about change management. So in one of the classes, we were talking about change models. And the instructor said something that was pivotal for me at that point in my life personally. And she said that one of the reasons why people don't change is this, and it's a principle of change. If your desire for what you want is not greater than the pain of where you are now, you will not change. If your desire for what you want is not greater than the pain of where you are now, you will not change. And so it was powerful for me because I recognized that I was also stuck in my life and I needed change. And I realized that even though it was very uncomfortable, it was painful, it was excruciatingly painful, frustrating. I was crying, I was ill, I was all of these things, but it did not motivate me enough to get out of that situation. And so even though we know that on the other side of this pain, it's better, we don't really know. So just to clarify this example, I was in a marriage that was very difficult. And, you try to stick things out, you try to work it out, you pray about it, you cry, you go to counseling, like you do everything that is humanly possible to do. And this thing is not changing. It's not working. And you recognize, you know what? That this is probably the end of the road. But what does the end of the road now mean? What does that mean? What are the losses, the additional losses, other than the loss of a marriage? What are the other losses? How are you going to survive? What are you going to do? What are people going to say? We worry about all of these things. And so what we end up doing is we choose the discomfort that we know and are comfortable with. As human beings, we just adjust to whatever circumstances we are in. And that's the beautiful thing about us as human beings, because we are very resilient, very strong, but we are also very flexible and we are able to adjust even to pain. How many of us carry pain in our bodies and we will not go to the doctor for fear of what the doctor might say, or just having a fear of doctors, period, a fear of needles or whatever it is. And we're going to just stay in that pain. Like I'm going through that right now. I have an unfinished root canal that, because the process up to that point was so painful, I was happy COVID came along. I didn't have to go to the dentist and all those other excuses that I just didn't want to feel that pain again of them digging around in my face, trying to take out this last little piece of nerve they can't seem to take out. And so I would rather live with this gaping hole in my mouth that, I have to now depend on chewing on the other side because I don't want to get food and that and all this other stuff. And it's very uncomfortable. The simple answer is go back to the dentist, woman. Go back to the dentist. Simple, right? But it's not as simple as that. we will rather live with the discomfort that we are familiar with than to go after the change that will make our lives better. And so the fear of the unknown is a part of that. I don't know what's on the other side of this. I know this. I don't know what's on the other side of not taking that government job, or leaving this job, or leaving this church that I grew up in all my life, or leaving a marriage, or just launching out into a new idea, starting school, moving out of my parents' house and getting my own place, getting an apartment, buying my own home. All of those things are wonderful things, great accomplishments, but they also represent loss. And I think a part of that, what we have to understand, is also how we manage and process grief. Because going back to the example that you gave of you as a child, as a 5-year-old, I cringed, not just from your part of the story, but also on what was said to the lady who lost the baby. And this is a very common response. We will say, you can have another one. And we feel like that replaces the loss that person feels. Oh, you got divorced, you can get married again. There are many fish in the sea, but that does not address the loss that I am currently experiencing from this particular one. No other child that I could have could replace the child that I lost. No other child. I will experience the joy of having that child, but I will not be able to replace that child that I lost. I will not be able, my relationship dynamic when I move out from home is going to be a bit different. I spoke to someone about that, and she was sharing how, I should be happy. I finally got my own place. I should be happy. Why am I not happy? And so it creates a spillover effect, because now you feel guilty because you're like, I achieved this thing that I always wanted. I achieved this dream, but I still feel bad. And these are the things that we have to process. That bad feeling is just grief. You have lost the place that you were familiar with. You probably knew where everything was in that room, and you were frustrated being in that room, but you knew that room. You were frustrated being around those family members, but you know those family members. And when you came home, there were people at home that you could talk to, or if you didn't want to talk to them, you could go in the room and shut the door. In your own place, ain't nobody there. You are now grieving that. Probably loneliness is creeping in, or that feeling of isolation, a feeling of maybe I won't connect with these people in the same way that I did before because I moved out. Maybe they might even be a little resentful. We start creating these narratives. That's why I said everything is hinged on our belief systems and the activity of our thought. Because most times we create stories we overthink, and we create stories that aren't even true. So all of this stuff is really so important to unpack. We have to get comfortable with the unknown, and a part of that is trust. Mm-hmm. Especially for people as believers. If we say that we trust God, that He has a plan for our lives, that He will not let us fall, our inability to trust, our inability to let go, our inability to embrace the unknown means that we don't trust Him.
Yeah. And a lot of times that lack of trust again goes back to the trauma. For a long time, I had trust issues, even with God, because of the issues with abandonment. So it's like, okay, and I really trust you to do what you said you're going to do in my life. Yep. And I remember one point, I don't remember what the circumstance was, but I remember one point, the Spirit speaking directly to me and saying, Michelle, I am not, and He called my father's name, my biological father's name. So we have to understand that there are all of these things that we're carrying around that really, unless we figure out how to deal with them, they will literally sabotage your life. Here's what a lot of people don't even understand. You can even be afraid of success.
Mm-hmm. I have been.
Let's talk about that.
So I didn't recognize it in myself, right? And a lot of times we get resentful when people give us feedback, but I have learned that feedback is a gift. It is a gift. It is an insight into yourself that you may not see. There's something called the Johari window. There are aspects of our lives that we are blind to. We call it the blind spot, right? So unless someone else can see it and point it out, we may never know. So someone that I considered a mentor at that time told me that. She said, you have the fear of success. And it hit me like, what is that? First of all, like, what is that? But what I realized is, and it's so deep, Michelle, and again, I can trace it back to childhood. But what I would have done, and to some cases do, I've had to create structures in my life to stop myself from doing this, is a thing called self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. Now, some psychologists would say there's no such thing, that it's really your ego and your subconscious competing against each other, right? And one wants to win. And usually the subconscious will win. We're triggered, we're wired to just flow with what we are naturally inclined to do. But self-sabotage, the way that plays out is you will do things to hinder your own success. And it would show up in ways that you would just think this is just a part of your character. This is just a part of who you are, your personality, and all this other stuff. So what were some of the things that I would do to sabotage my success? Procrastination was the biggest one. Putting off things that I knew that I should do, especially for opportunities, right? So if someone approached me and they want me to maybe facilitate a training session or something like that, and they asked me, could you provide a proposal? I would drag my feet and drag my feet and drag my feet on the proposal until either I submitted too late and they say, well, we don't need it anymore, or, they got someone else or whatever. And I'm like, why would you do this? Why would you do this and sabotage your own success? Showing up late was another one. Packing all sorts of things, watching the time, seeing the time go, and trying to do everything that has nothing to do with preparing myself to do what I need to do for that time. Populating my schedule, right? Excessive busyness and activity so that you're overlapping, you're overbooking, you're doing all these things so that you cannot fulfill, you cannot show up at your best. You have a deadline. So you got the proposal in. The proposal is accepted. Now you got to prepare the presentation. You got to prepare everything, and you wait till the last possible minute. And you would say, I say it because as a creative, I'll say, well, I need to be inspired. I need to be inspired. I don't have the inspiration yet. I don't know what I'm going to write yet. But you're just going to decide the morning of or the day before that this is when you are inspired. And I had to recognize now that these are things that I am doing to myself. Why? And as I started to look at even my money habits, like I could make money, but I can't keep money.
Girl,
I would feel like I have to spend this for some reason or the next. And that you need this money to deal with something, and you would spend it on something that's completely unrelated.
And then have the drama of the
trying to figure out to find money again.
But
you
listen,
understand?
Speaking of which, you preaching to the choir right now, girl, because I would do the same thing, sabotage my finances, create that drama of finding yourself in a position of, oh my God, I don't know, but I don't have enough. What am I going to do? But again, the same exercise last year. Thank God I went through it. Help me to identify why I was doing that.
Yep.
And here's what the wound of the past was that contributed to that behavior.
And I'll tell you mine after.
Okay. My mother, single parent, struggled to raise her kids and do everything that she wanted to do for us. She worked hard. My mother was a hard worker. But there were oftentimes when we wanted to do things and she just couldn't afford it. And I remember one of the things that I really wanted to do was I wanted to dance. And I had some cousins who every Saturday, either on the way to dance class or on the way from dance class, they would stop at our house. And I so wanted to be a part of that dance class, but my mother couldn't afford it. And she said to me, I can't afford it. We just don't have the money for you to do that. There was another time when I wanted to join the Brownies. And my mother said, I don't have the money for a uniform. So I don't want you to be the only girl there that doesn't have the Brownie uniform. And what I subconsciously took from that was, you can't afford things. Some of the things that you want, you can't afford. So I got to the point where even when I was making the money, I would find ways to sabotage my finances to put myself back in a position of not having enough. Crazy, right? Yeah. But this is what we do.
This is what we do. And we take it on.
Yeah. And until you identify that is what is causing you to do these things, you will continue to repeat the same behavior over and over and over again. Even if you're asking yourself, why am I doing this to myself?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why? And you have to get deep into it, into really reflecting and going through exercises like that, or getting a coach or whatever it is that you need to do, a therapist, whatever that is that you need to do to unpack it so that you understand yourself. So let me share my story. And mine is different from yours, but the same effect. Okay. So I grew up in a 2-parent home. And my parents, both very hardworking, very humble people, but they had their come up, right? So they ensured that their children had good education. And I didn't recognize it until afterwards that I had money shame, right? And it played out like this. Whenever people would ask me what school I went to, what high school I went to, I recognized after I would proudly say what school I went to because it was my school. And I went there my entire life from, they called it reception, which is like preschool, all the way to graduation. And so I grew up with the same people in my class for all those years. Some of them are my neighbors. They live all along the street, same street, so it was generally a good experience and it was a great school. But what I found is as I started to move about in the community and people would ask, I noticed that when I would say the name of the school, like people's demeanor would change. And they'd be like, oh, that kind of look like, oh, like they weren't expecting that. They were expecting me to say some other name, but not that name. And so it started to make me feel funny. And then for a period, we lived in a neighborhood that I guess was considered, it was a super wealthy, but I guess like upper middle class, I guess. And we would have, friends and family come over, entertaining all the time. And I noticed like I had certain people would make certain comments, like certain family members would make like negative comments about, the way we lived or how we lived. We weren't living in an extravagant life, but it was good. And so it created this money shame for me that I felt like if you had money, that it alienates you from people. And it made people look at you differently. It made people think that you were different. And it just solidified. And I did the same work with myself because I said, I have to trace back, where did this start? I'll never forget my first job coming back from college. I finally, after a lot of searching, got a teaching job. And I'll never forget this. And this was my first time now working. I didn't even have a bank account because I had just moved back from college and all this stuff. So I didn't understand how all these things work. And they paid by direct deposit. So silly me, I asked a friend if I could just use their account number and have my paycheck go there. And I did that. So after the first month, I kept asking, I said, did you see anything? Did you see anything come through to your account? They said, no. So I called the same person that interviewed me. And in actual fact, at the end of my final interview, when they told me I got the job, her comment was, don't take your, and I'll have to say the name of the school now, because I just can't avoid it without saying the sentence the way she said it to me. She said, I'm happy to hire you. Just don't take your St. Andrews snobbishness to my school. Don't take your St. Andrews snobbishness to my school. And when she said that, I was like, what? Like, because and it started me to think, because I'm like, I am not a snob. Like, anybody who knows me knows that I am probably the most approachable person that you could ever find. I don't, if you don't know me and you think I look intimidating, well, I don't know. I must got to fix my face. But I am not. I'm very approachable. I feel like I am very down to earth and all these other things. And so it solidified for me, this is how people feel. So now when I had to go back to this person and say, hey, I'm just checking on my paycheck because I didn't see it come. Now, it really was my fault because the bank held it because the name on the payment did not match the name on the account. So that was actually the issue. But when I called, the response that she gave me, I was blown away. She was like, you couldn't just open your big mouth and say something before now? I guess, you ain't need this paycheck here. Your daddy got so much money. And I'm like, what? But my daddy ain't working for you. I'm working for you for this little teacher's salary. Like, why am I getting this response? And I didn't realize that it created this money shame where and I would self-sabotage with my finances, and I would just spend because, again, if you have money, it means that you will not be accepted, that you would be alienated, you would not be able to connect, you would lose relationships.
Wow. And here's the thing. She clearly had her own issues going on, why she would have responded in that way.
Exactly, but I didn't see it that way.
Exactly. We never do.
She had her issues. Clearly, she felt resentful toward people that had money.
Exactly. Okay, number one, we got to take a break. Then we come back. We're going to continue the conversation with the Limitless Life Coach, Simmone L. Bowe. We're talking mindset makeover for a successful life today. This is GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM, also streaming live on Facebook. Like and share the show, people. We'll be back after this.
Photography at its best. Professional and quality service. Warren Grant Photography, specializing in weddings, portraits, sunset images, events, and photo booth. Creating compelling images of life-changing events. Make that step today and call 242-424-5678 or email Warren_Grant251@yahoo.com or check out our website at www.warrengrantphotography.com. Facebook and Instagram, Warren Grant Photography. We change moments into memories.
Boy, here calamity. Boy, don't want that be me. Let me get this coverage, do it once and for all. Insurance management is who I gonna call.
When calamity strikes, we're here to keep you safe and secure. With offices in Nassau, Freeport, Abacoa, Luther, and Exuma. Insurance management. We cover the Bahamas.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information.
Eye Candy Makeup Store is the place for all things beautiful. We are your one-stop shop for Black Opal and Florrie Roberts cosmetics. And we have the largest selections of NYX in the Bahamas, from lash extensions and permanent brows to makeovers that wow. Ask about our signature fresh face look for as low as $32.25. Call us today at 326-2989 for more information. Eye Candy Makeup Store, Harbor Bay, the only place for all things beautiful.
Listen to Glory 93.9 FM. 93.9 FM. The best mix of traditional, classic, country, contemporary, and Caribbean gospel in New Providence, Bahamas.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, talking today to the Limitless Life Coach, Simmone L. Bowe. We're talking mindset makeover, how to change that mindset for a more successful life. We have Gina Mortimer Store commenting on Facebook. Gina says, a profound reminder of why parents, schools need to do a better job preparing children for the real world. Good point. Very, very good point, Gina. This requires a lot of intentional thought when you're talking about changing mindsets. intentional thought keywords, because you have to go into this with the mindset that I deserve success, I deserve happiness, I deserve love, and I'm going to do what I need to do to ensure that I am not repelling success, love, happiness, health, healing, etc. from me. And you can actually do that by having the wrong mindset. I mean, you would be, the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And that is because every word that proceeds from your mouth begins with a thought.
Yep.
And so that the mindset, the thought process is where it begins, because you have to think a thought before you speak that into reality. But the power of our thoughts are so profound that even if you are only fearing something, you can I always tell people, be careful what you fear, because you will draw that to yourself, almost like a magnet draws metal to itself. You can't see the force in between there, but there is that force that will draw to you the very thing that you are afraid of, because it all begins in the mindset. It's like you're putting it out there that this is something that I'm afraid of, and believe it or not, you will attract that very thing. So this is why it is very important for you to clean up that mindset, understand why you are doing what you are doing, and make the necessary changes to improve that. Laurie Butler says that's a good reminder of the words that we speak daily. That's a good reminder of the words we speak daily. Obviously, your thoughts lead to the words. The words, once you speak that, it has power. But it begins with the thought life.
Faith comes by hearing.
Yes.
Right. And so whatever it is that you believe is based on what you hear.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. And so it is very important for us, if we want to be successful, that we have to dig into the thought processes. And we talked a lot about childhood trauma, childhood pain, but we also have to look at life experiences and how the life experiences also shape our thought. So if I were to throw some words out there, right, I shared quite a bit of me and my relationship trauma, right? So if I were to say, what do you think about men? And you throw that out into a room of people, you would get lots of different responses from women, right? I mean, I remember doing that before, and it was so negative. Like, oh, men are dogs, they whatless, they this, they that, or whatever. Very few people that actually said, well, men are, protectors, providers, they love, they nurture, whatever. So it's based on your experience that you would have had, or the experience that you were told. So if you are around, and this again tells us that if our environment is saturated by negativity, negative people, it may not be in your family, but you could have negative friends. And so if you are around a bunch of people who are saying, I have never had a positive experience with XYZ, you could be sitting around with your friends talking about how you want to go into journalism, and you could have 5 out of 6 of your friends talking so negatively about journalism. Well, child, I hear they don't make no money. Well, child, I hear this or that. Child, if I was you, I would do this or that. Right. And so when you constantly hear those things, then you begin to now shape a belief, and you put faith in that. And so, and you look at another scripture when Job said, the thing that I feared the most has come upon me. So that means now that if he had this internal secret fear, that he continued to dwell on and dwell on and dwell on until it happened.
Yes, he drew that to him. Yes.
He drew it to him. We are creative beings. And so we have the power to think and say exactly the world that we want. Our words will then shape our world. And believe it or not, whatever condition you are in right now is of your own making.
Ooh, say that again, girl. Say that again. Because that's hard for some people to hear.
Mhm. And you started the show by talking about personal responsibility and accountability, and that is where it starts. The existence that you are living right now, the conditions that you are experiencing right now is of your own making. Now, you could say, I wasn't born in a wealthy family. I grew up in a single parent home. We didn't have a lot of money. The job that I'm at is this or that. The government is this or that. COVID happened. COVID could catch plenty heat, right? I mean, and COVID is real and COVID has happened. But if we were to take personal responsibility, how many of us could say, well, when I had the opportunities to go to a workshop, to do a degree, to pursue a certification, I didn't use that opportunity. That's on me. So now it may feel like I'm delayed in the things that I want. When I was really making money, I could have made better money choices. I could have saved more. I could have invested more. I could have done this or that. Now, it's not for you to be in condemnation with yourself, but it is to acknowledge your role in your existence. We are not powerless. And a lot of times we operate in life as if we are victims and that we do not have power. We have power. We have the power to choose. We have the power to act. We control whatever we want to happen or not happen in our lives, except for the uncontrollable. These external factors, we can't control hurricanes. We can't control pandemics, war, all these other things. But just about everything else, we can.
Yeah. I want to play a clip that will only reinforce what you just said. Because a part of the problem is that we're aiming too low. Mm-hmm. We're settling for being ordinary, average, because it's comfortable. We don't want to be pushed outside of our comfort zone. So we will settle for average because that's the comfort that we know. Let's go ahead and roll that clip, and then we'll come back to the conversation.
The problem with most people, they don't set their goals too high and miss them. That's not the problem. The problem with 99% of the world is they set their goals too low and they hit them. Average sucks. The enemy of great is good. Don't set your goals low. Set your goals high.
And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency.
There's two types of people, folks. People that get the life they want and everybody else. Okay, what group you want to be in? Everything you want to learn in life is in a book somewhere. You can resist it. The average American reads one book a year. Average is an epidemic. Average people, average athletes. 250,000 kids every year come out of high schools playing basketball. 250,000 kids every year are playing basketball, scholastic basketball, in order to try to play in the NBA. You know how many out of 250,000 play in the NBA? 5 out of 250,000. Life ain't fair. Life is bad for a bunch of people, good for a lot of people, and great for a few. You guys got to decide where it's going to be, okay? Like, your potential is where you'll determine your greatness. See, most people think success is a straight line. I'm going to get out of high school, I'm going to get a job, and everything's going to be fine. That's not how it plays out, folks, okay? This is how it plays out. Guy decides he wants something, and the line gets all squiggly. Because if you don't have your own goals, this is what you're going to do. You're going to spend your whole life making somebody else's dreams come true. The question is, will you take enough action? Because if you don't take enough action, if you don't take enough focused action that is positive to your potential, consistent with who you are and where you want to go, if you don't do that, you're going to end up being everybody else. It says, I am obsessed. I am not like others. I do what others refuse to do. I must control my destiny. I am never satisfied. I cannot settle. I rise while others sleep. I refuse to quit. I am driven to succeed, and I'm a role model for others, okay?
I want you to go into an idea and don't give yourself a way out. Make success a must. Make the consequences of failure in your life so dire and unthinkable you won't allow it to happen.
Okay, so just to reinforce that final thought in that clip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you don't give yourself a way out. It reminds me of the story of Socrates and the young man who wanted, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, Simmone, a young man who wanted to know the secret to success. So he goes to Socrates and he says, I want you to teach me the secret of success. And so Socrates says, meet me by the lake tomorrow morning. And so the young man shows up the next morning. Socrates takes him by the hand and he starts walking into the lake. So the young man thinks, okay, this is unorthodox, but I'll go with it. This guy has what I want. He has the secret to success. So I'm going to go with it. So they keep walking further and further into the lake, and water is getting up to the knees, up to the waistline, up to the chest, up to the neck. So now this guy is getting concerned. So finally, when he could barely touch the bottom and keep his head above water, Socrates takes his head and dunks it underwater and holds it there. So this young man is, oh my God, I'm drowning. He's gasping and trying to catch himself. Finally, as he starts to turn blue from lack of oxygen, Socrates pulls his head up out of the water. And so he says to him, are you crazy? Why did you do that? And Socrates says to him, when your head was under the water, what was the one thing that you wanted the most? And the young man says, air. I wanted to breathe. And so he says to him, well, until you want success as much as you wanted to breathe, you will never get it.
Wow. Yeah, I heard that.
I think so many of us do not achieve the success that we want because we've given ourselves a way out. We have given ourselves the excuse as to why it's okay for us not to have achieved that success.
Yeah.
But until we get to the point where there is no other option. No, it's succeed or die.
Yes.
Because had he not let that boy's head up out of the water, he would have drowned. He would have died from lack of air. So until you get to the point where you want to succeed as much as you need to breathe, then it is going to evade you. And it all goes back to mindset. Laurie Butler says it's a mindset makeover today. Yes, Laurie, it is. Like and share the show. Let everybody know that we're talking mindset makeover today. Laurie also said, this is so powerful. It's mind and thought changing. Thank you so much. That is what it's all about for us today, people. Teaching you what you need to do to just shift your life by changing your mindset. Now, there are some things that we have to focus on in order for this to become a reality. And one of those is understanding the difference between what you can control and what you can't. Let's talk about that, Simmone.
Yep. So as I had mentioned before, there are things that happen in our world that we can't control, right? So we have natural disasters, war, and we can't control other people. So oftentimes we try to control people's reactions. We try to control people's emotional state. We want to control people's lives. The only thing that we have control over is ourselves and our responses, our thought life, our actions. And so we have to look at what are we spending our energy on, our energy, time, and attention. Energy, time, and attention. In actual fact, we could make an acronym out of that, right? If we do energy, attention, and time, that creates the word eat.
Oh, wow.
What are you eating?
That's deep.
What are you eating? What are you spending your energy, attention, and time on? It's critical for you to understand that, because you take things on sometimes that are not yours. And it can be very innocently, and it can be very noble and positive. So if I use myself as an example, I am a giver. I love to give of my time, energy, and attention to people. I'm a helper. So I like to help people. And that has been good for me. And that has also caused me a lot of problems because I had to learn how to create proper boundaries with that to guard my energy, attention, and time. Because I would find myself depleting myself and including my finances as well on just giving, and taking on projects that were not mine to take on, taking on concerns and problems that were not mine to take on. And sometimes I actually just wrote a book on self-love. It's called Me First. And the title already sounds like you being selfish, right? But when you talk about loving yourself and focusing on what you can control, you learn that oftentimes you take on other people's issues. Even when you join organizations, people want to make you feel like, you gotta perform certain duties. You gotta take on certain responsibilities. Actually, no, I don't. And people will come at you from the left like, but we need your talent. We need your ability. We need your leadership, whatever it is that they think they need. Family members do it, especially if you single or childless or whatever. They look at you and figure, well, you don't have no need for your money. You don't have no need for your time. So you should be able to X, Y, Z. All of those things are within your control. It's just that we have these fears around it. We fear that we're going to lose relationship. We fear judgment. That was one of the things that I wanted to mention prior to. That's why we lowball. That's why we stay in mediocrity. That's why we don't aim high, because we are afraid of criticism. We're afraid of judgment. What are people going to say if I aspired to that? And we have an expression here in the Bahamas. We love to say you get rich and switch. Like, we don't want to hear that because it's a statement of criticism. It's a statement of judgment, because they're implying that you have changed because you have changed your personal condition. And yes, you will change. That's inevitable. So you have to learn how to deal with the changes that are going to come in yourself and the changes that are going to come in your circle. And you can't control that either. You can't control how people think about you. You can't control how people will respond if you decide today, I am enrolling in this free program at BTVI. They already can start thinking, oh, gee, you're in COVID, and the people offering free education, go take it. Right? And then you have the fallout from that. Oh, wow, now you got a certificate. Now you got an associate's degree. Now you think no, I don't. And guess what? You don't even have to justify anything to anybody. You don't have to explain anything to anybody. We get so caught up in all of these different trappings that it keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
So you can't control other people. You can't control the noise in the market, whatever is happening in the world, the economy, and all this other stuff, but you can control you.
I think what people need to realize is that when you decide to have a mindset shift and be your best you and go for the gold ring, you become an irritation to those who are happy in their averageness.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to make a decision that in spite of that, I'm going to continue to move forward. I can't allow my fear of rejection to stop me from being the best me, because you will always be an irritation to someone who does not want to, because then see, you're shining the light on them. Oh, look at what she's doing. Well, that's making me look bad because I'm not achieving this or I'm not doing that. And so they lash out at you because of, their own insecurities. And so
they have to change accordingly based on the new you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and that makes them uncomfortable as well. Like, now when you are, as this family member, you're saying, well, no, I can't donate XYZ, but I can donate this.
Yeah.
And they're like, or if like for me, I'm a chronically late person, and I would have friends that would say, well, if they said, I'll wait 15 minutes for you, and if you don't come in 15 minutes, I'm leaving. That's a boundary. Now, I could get vexed at them as much as I like, but they have just set a boundary that either I respect it or I don't.
Yeah.
And so now when you do that to people and they're like, well, oh, who you think you is? You could jimma jamma as much as you like, but this is the standard now that I've created for myself because I understand how valuable my time is,
There
my
you go.
energy, and my attention.
And if you don't put a value on it, the world will not. Bottom line.
They won't.
Let's go to a couple of comments. Gina Mortimer's store says that's a learned behavior in the Black community that has caused us so much self-destruction. Yeah, Gina, I tend to agree with you. Amaya Lister says sometimes this type of thinking stems from the roles we assume in families.
Yes.
Wow, that's a deep one.
And I want to talk about that because that actually was also in the book, The Path, as we talked about earlier.
Yes.
And I know someone wanted us to repeat the name. It's The Path,
by Laurie Beth Jones. Yeah.
Right. But she talked about us confusing roles and responsibilities with our mission or our purpose. And so sometimes people feel like because they are a mother or a father or whatever it is, or a business owner or whatever, that it means that you have to act a certain way, do a certain thing, that you could demand certain things. That's what the roles will say. But we can't confuse our roles with who we are as a person. And what do I mean by that? So if you are after being successful and pursuing your own purpose, this is going to sound hard, but your purpose is not being a parent.
Wow.
This is going to sound hard, right? Being a parent is a role that you play in your life. And this is why people, again, get caught up in either trying to live through their children or they don't learn how to transition with their children as they become adults. And they have a very difficult time relating to them and letting them go to live their own lives.
How many people find themselves in the empty nest syndrome when their kids move on and they're lost? They don't know who they are anymore because they would have wrapped up their entire lives into raising those children. And now the children are adults living their own lives and you lost.
You don't know who you are. Same thing with jobs. People go to retirement and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Your job is not your purpose. Now, you can fulfill your purpose through your job, but you have to understand the separation between the two. Because if it's your purpose, it means that you could do it anywhere, not just at that job.
Fascinating. Laurie Butler says, that's my situation right now with family, friends, and especially work. But last year, I made up my mind that enough is enough. I am living my own life now. Good for you, Laurie Butler. Good for you. Gina Mortimer Store says, I've learned that get rich and switch is a global expression of jealousy.
It is. It is. It really is.
Yep. So true.
Yes.
She also says, Michelle, using irritation to describe how naysayers view your shift is it for me. Yeah. And me waiting for Christian counsel coming for y'all empowering these people outside of the traditional definition. They have a women, especially. Gina, don't do it, man. Don't do it.
They don't like me, Gina, so it's all good. I've been ostracized a long time.
We only speak in truth today. We only speak in truth today because the truth has a new home and it's Glory 93.9 FM.
Hey.
All right, let's talk about what else we need to focus on. What about the importance of focusing not so much on what's missing in your life, but what you have in your life? How important is that?
That I am so glad you say that because it's very important for us to be kinder to ourselves. And that inner critic, that inner self-talk can be so negative. And yes, we have been pointing out the areas of our lives that are worthy of growth and improvement. But we also have to acknowledge what we bring to the table, that we are gifted, that we are beings that are just phenomenal. We are. We just have two sides to ourselves, right? We have the light and we have the dark. And so we have to focus on both. And I find that oftentimes we don't allow the light to shine enough. And sometimes that's the part of our darkness where we feel that we have to hide that light. We have to dim down that light. We have to, dummy down because we don't want to shine too bright. But in the same way, we can irritate some people. We can irritate some people with our light. And so all they gonna need to do is put on some shades or leave the room. We will irritate people with our light, with our giftedness. We see it so often in the workplace. You have people who come with abilities, with energy, with passion, with drive, and we want to hold them back. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. But it is because of other people's brokenness, their dark places in their shadow in their life that they're not dealing with. Your light is offensive. But it doesn't mean that you have to hide your light. You need to embrace your light. I came into 2021 after last year thinking, like, I am just going to shine no matter what. I am going to make some bold moves. I am just going to go after it with all I got. I don't know how much time we have left in this world. I don't know how much time I have left on the planet. Why am I going to spend the time worrying about what I don't have? And oftentimes, and I've proven this over and over again, everything that we need, we already have, either within us or we are connected to people that have what we need. You have something that I need, Michelle. Whether you have it personally or you know people who could help me. And the same for me. I can help you. I may know people who could help you. One text, one phone call away. We have what it takes, and we have to just acknowledge it, embrace it. That's why you could start ventures without money because you have what it takes. If it means that you take your last, so they say that widow's mite, that last bit of flour and oil, and say, I am going to bake cookies. You have people in your life who will buy those cookies from you and you will generate money.
Mm-hmm. This is true. This is true.
You have it.
How important is it, Simmone, for us not to focus on the loss in our lives, but instead redirect that focus to what we can do now and what we can even do in the future, just not allowing the loss of the past to stifle us?
Yeah, it's very important because, again, that is another thing that will keep us stuck when we worry about the pain of the past. We worry about decisions that we made that didn't pan out the way we wanted it to. Some people call them mistakes. I have a friend who's a coach who says there are no mistakes, only lessons. And I've embraced that as a personal mantra because I used to live in that regret. I have things that I do regret, right? Decisions that I wished that I had made differently, choices that I wish that I had made differently. But if you live in that space and you don't, what it boils down to is forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself of choices, decisions, mindsets, actions, inactions that you have taken over the course of your life, and resolve in yourself to learn from those experiences. When you learn from those experiences, you can grow from those experiences and you can say, now I will perform differently. Now, you won't perform differently if you don't address it and do the work, because then now you will find yourself in a cycle and a pattern of behavior. And you have to, as I like to say, disrupt yourself. In the same way that that man held that boy down in that water, in the same way that COVID came and held us down and disrupted our life, we have to intentionally disrupt our life, disrupt our habits. And so I've had to do that. I had to disrupt my thinking of trying to excessively give, taking on people's problems and responsibilities as my own, putting too much time and effort into making other people happy and building other people's dreams and building other people's vision. The same energy and attention and time that I would pay doing that for other people, I need to put it on myself. And that's the decision that I've made for 2021. And so we can't live stuck in the past. And this is why people talk about the power of the present, that it's a gift. We can't stay stuck in the past. We can't stay fearful of the future. No, we don't know. Some people were literally fearful of 2021 rolling over. Like, if 2020 was this bad, I don't even want to have hope. I don't want to have expectation. I don't want to make a resolution, which I don't believe in anyway. I don't want to set goals. I don't want to do anything for 2021 because I just don't know what's coming. You can't live like that. It's going to keep you stuck. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. All you can do is control you. So put your mask on, keep your sanitizer on you, and keep moving. Keep moving.
Wow.
Don't stay stuck.
Okay. We have Adrian Mott, all the way from Switzerland, sending you some regards. And she says, "Sweet Simmone, watching you from Switzerland, Kathy, and my love." All right. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to take a break. They play the music, so that means we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about spirituality. What role does spirituality play in all of this? Stay with us. This is GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. We'll be back.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Piratesville, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182. Want to look your best and feel even better? Visit JD Edwards Salon and Spa for the ultimate beauty, body, and anti-aging treatments, offering custom colors, haircuts, vegan anti-freeze treatments, silk blowouts, natural and acrylic nails, unisex pedicures, facials, and massages, all waxing services, and microcurrent therapies for anti-aging and body sculpting. JD Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madeira Street, telephone 326-7863.
Hi, this is Bishop Paul S. Morton. You're listening to the great sounds of Glory 93.9 FM.
Located on Carmichael Road, Divine Designs Hair Boutique is a haven for women and men looking for professional beauty services. Our state-of-the-art and contemporary equipment creates a relaxing ambiance for you to enjoy while we cater to you. Need a hairstylist? We cater to all types and textures of hair for care and styling. We even have a barber on duty. Need a nail tech? Our technicians provide a range of nail services, including the latest trends. Unwind in one of our massage chairs while you get your pedicure. With our reasonable rates, friendly staff, and over 20 years of experience, you will be in great hands. Call us at 823-1669 or 698-1025 to schedule your appointment. Want to be pampered? Want to be slayed? Let Divine Designs make your day.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guest today is the Limitless Life Coach, Simmone Bowe. We're talking mindset makeover for a successful life. And prior to the break, I promised that we would turn to spirituality as we, head down the home stretch of this conversation. Okay, so when something occurs in our life, we have one of three choices. We can either say to ourselves, well, maybe this is God's way of punishing us. Or we can say to ourselves, well, maybe this is God's way of challenging us. Or we can say to ourselves, well, maybe this doesn't have anything to do with God. Maybe this is just, how do I put this? Maybe it has nothing to do with God at all, but more so the decisions that I've made in my life. Because, we blame God for plenty things. Same way we blame the devil for plenty things. Oh, the devil caused this and the devil caused it. No, you made some decisions.
Now you're suffering the consequences.
Now you're suffering the consequences. And you want to turn around and blame God and blame the devil and blame everybody else but yourself. Mm-hmm. How do we get to that point, Simmone, where we understand the difference between the three? Not, saying, oh, this is God's way of punishing me for some past wrong, or this is God's way of challenging me, or maybe this is just a result of my decisions. How do we differentiate that?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Again, going back, it just cannot get away from this point of self-awareness and self-reflection. So when we make the time to spend time with ourselves, to be mindful, then we are better able to sift through what's happening in our lives and our experiences. So for instance, when I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself and these money habits, right? And then you would pray and you would ask for these opportunities, and the opportunities would come, and then you would end up back in this situation again where you're like, where did that money just go? Like, why did it just fly out of my hands? And I had this come to Jesus with Jesus. I said, I am the topic of conversation today, Lord. Why am I doing this? What do I need to do to stop this? Because it's not out of lack. It is out of two things that he said to me. One, he said, you need to have money mindfulness. And I was like, what? Money mindfulness. He said, before you make any purchase, and this is mindfulness about anything, because I can apply this to any aspect, eating, exercise, anything. Money mindfulness means before you take out $1 to buy something, you question yourself to say, why? Why do you need this in this moment? And do you need this in this moment? And after I had this conversation, I went into the grocery store, and we are triggered, and companies play on this in marketing, right? To trigger our emotions. And I kid you not, I was walking down one aisle, and right at the beginning of the aisle was a section with cream of wheat. Now, let me tell you how deep this is. I love cream of wheat. Now, I recognize my love for cream of wheat came from a very fond memory of my mother. I can remember, just the same way that you can remember you walking down Frederick Street as a 5-year-old, I can remember the mornings that I would wake up for school, and my mother would be in the kitchen making breakfast for me before school. And one of the things that she would make for me was cream of wheat. I could remember hearing the radio playing, ZNS and community announcements and all of it. I could hear it, I could see it, I could smell it. And so because that's a very positive memory for me, I, as an adult, love cream of wheat. I was just had a conversation with people saying, I can't stand that. I love cream of wheat, but I realize that I have a very positive memory attached to that. So here I am now, fast forward, in the grocery store, and I see this box of cream of wheat, the same brand that my mother used to use, and I find myself reaching for this box of cream of wheat. And then I felt myself halt, money mindfulness. Now, first of all, you got a little bit of cream of wheat in the cupboard home. Are you realistically going to eat cream of wheat when now you are currently trying to eliminate dairy from your diet? First of all, you're trying to minimize sugar and carbs. Is this a good decision for you to purchase this cream of wheat right now? And all of this is going on in my head while I'm standing in the grocery store, you know. And I looked at that cream of wheat and I reached my hand back and I put my hand on my trolley and I kept moving. I did not buy it in that moment. And when I recognized and I thought about other purchases that I had made, I recognized that is what I had done. It was just mindless. You find yourself just drifting. Even when you're trying to eat better, you find yourself just drifting out of habit. Other habits that I had was I like chai tea latte. And so sometimes that would be like a comfort drink for me. If I had a rough day or something like that, I would go and get a chai tea latte or whatever. And I find myself, you feel yourself just drifting. And sometimes you only need to see the logo of the place. How many times have we passed KFC and just because we smell it, we turn it around because we figure we need to have KFC? We don't need to have that KFC.
Well, you know, you bought some penny corn, right? You know, you bought some penny corn on there, right?
I'm washing my own corn.
I want to go to a message on Facebook by Amaya Lister. This message says, what is your recommendation for helping someone to find the light within themselves? What can I say to a friend or family member to get them started on the journey changing perspective?
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to act as mirrors to people in our lives. And as I mentioned before, feedback is a gift. And sometimes when we have certain conversations with people, it's a gift and they may not see it as a gift at the moment. I think motivational speaker Lisa Nichols refers to it as a gift wrapped in sandpaper. It's a gift that will irritate you. It will grate you. It will make you feel like it goes against the grain. It will challenge you. But if you're truly reflective, you will recognize the gift that is wrapped up in that feedback. And so sometimes we may need to just have very loving conversations with people. And we have to learn how to do that because we don't want to approach people from a place of judgment where we would say, well, you need to, and you need to recognize that, you know, sometimes we just need to affirm people. Sometimes we can create opportunities to show people that they have light. You know, if it's something where, you know, just to go back to that simple cookie example, the next time you may be having a little gathering or you may want to do some gift giving or something at work and you go to that person and you say, you know, I always loved your cookies and your pastries. I'm having something at work and I'd like to order some from you. And they may look at you like, what? Order some from me? Like, I only just make these for the family, or I only just do this as a hobby or whatever. And it may trigger off something for them. It happened with my sister and she started a business because of it. I was working somewhere and she always loved to cook from I was a child. And she felt bad about it because she was told that, you know, this isn't a career. This isn't something that you do. But she was always cooking and baking and stuff around the house. And so I was at this job one time and we wanted to order in lunch. And I went to her and I said, well, could you do some packaged lunches, some sandwiches and some different stuff for our lunch meeting? And she did it and it started a whole business for her. Sometimes people just don't see their light. Sometimes they've just been in situations where people have beat down on them so much. They've been discouraged. They've been rejected. And I know what that feels like, to be constantly rejected, to be diminished, to feel like you don't have value. And sometimes our environments can be so difficult in that regard that it's so hard to keep your light lit. You know, it's so hard to keep finding that flame because it feels like there's a hurricane blowing to blow that flame out. And so it's so important that when we are around people that we love, that we care about, and even people that we don't know. I remember this example of when I was working on an HR job, and I didn't even remember this interaction. I'm telling you, and this is how powerful your words are, and you have to be so careful of what you say to people. But I never even remembered this. But this young man posted on Facebook an encounter that he had with me that I did not even remember. Like, I remembered essentially, he came for an interview, and I had a laptop bag, a roller bag, and he offered very politely, he said, "Can I take your bag for you?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. Thank you so much." And so we're walking along, and he's rolling the bag, and he makes this little comment, and he says, "I feel like a flight attendant." And he said, this is what he wrote in the post now on Facebook, that my response to him was, "Why don't you feel like the pilot?" And he said that completely shifted his life completely. He said he didn't even care if he got that job or not. He did get the job. He said he didn't even the whole thing. He just floated through the interview and all of this other stuff. But he said that comment shifted him, because what it did was it challenged him to aim higher than he was aiming. And he didn't even see it. He didn't realize that he was just aiming. And there's nothing wrong with being a flight attendant. But I challenged him to think differently about himself. And can I tell you that he is operating at such a high level of leadership in his life, and his aspirations and the things that he's going after is like big. And so we can all play that role. I can tell you countless examples like that of people who have said, "Well, you don't remember you said this or that," and I'm like, "I don't even remember. I'm just in the moment. I'm caught up." But I recognize the power in that. So have these loving, affirming conversations, create opportunities that will help people to see their own light and to embrace it.
Good stuff, Simmone. Laurie Butler says, "You guys were sent for me today. I am so glad I catch this." And she also says a little later on, "Very good and timely show, ladies. Have to watch it again." Laurie, thank you so much for those encouraging words. And really, that's what it's about for us, trying to impact lives. Gina Monomore says, "It's how I started my web design biz. Through many tears in 2006, I learned to code to create a website to honor my father's memory. 2 months later, I got my first client, and I'm still doing it today. I had never given a thought to being in this digital space. I'm a trained social worker turned marketing exec, for God's sake." Yeah. Let me tell you, we have to remember that there's nothing that we cannot do. We just have to put our minds to it. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the immense ability that we all have within us, all of us. But again, it begins with the mindset. We only have a couple of minutes left, Simmone. Let's talk for the home stretch of the show about next steps. What does a person do who would have listened to the show and they've decided, maybe there is something to this. I want to change my mindset. Take us step by step what they should be doing.
Well, I think immediately after the show, you need to carve out some space. You may be at work or something. Take 5 to 10 minutes immediately, because there's so much power in taking action. And the more time you put between the feeling that you have right now and where you are right now, you are more likely to revert to your default, which is everything that you've been doing up to this point. So I want to encourage you immediately after this show, if you don't have a journal with you, take out your phone, put it in the notes section, the memo section of your phone, and make a note of the things that truly resonated with you. You said you needed to catch this show today. What was it about this show? What was said that triggered something for you? Because that information now is critical for your way forward. That's your roadmap. That's the beginning of your strategic plan for you Inc., you Incorporated. So take the time after the show, write down those things that stood out to you the most and identify what they are. Are they the limiting beliefs? Are they fears, for instance, things that you had hang-ups about? Or was it a confirmation of something that you need to start or start again, or someone that you need to reach out to? Whatever that is, make the note of it and get moving on it. And then based on whatever it is that you've come up with, take another small action toward it. And so you hear me talk about, and this is what coaches do. Coaches encourage action because it is in your stillness. I'm not stillness of mindfulness, but stillness in inaction that you get stuck and stagnant. And you start to talk yourself out of what you feel right now. And so again, this is how people play on emotions. I'm not playing on your emotions. I'm trying to get you to get unstuck. So taking this action now will disrupt your normal pattern of settling. We want to disrupt that pattern. You're not settling today. You are moving forward today. So based on whatever you've written, take another subsequent action. So for instance, if you feel based on this conversation that there's someone in your family that you want to have this conversation with, do an initial reach out to that person today. Do an initial reach out. If there's something that you need to pursue or get started, start to do some research. Get some information. Reach out to someone and talk. If the path was something that triggered you, get on Amazon or something and buy the book. Do something that is critical. And be kind to yourself. Celebrate all that you are, the wonderful things that you are, and the things that you are working on. And I believe that you will be in a great place to really see success in 2021 and beyond.
Simmone, it is always a pleasure to have you on. You always bring such wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. And thank you for making the space for me.
Real quick, how do people find you if they want to hire you as a coach? How do they reach out to you?
Yes, so I have a page on Facebook, Simmone L, middle initial L, and that's Simmone with 2 M's. Last name is Bowe, Bowe, the Limitless Life Coach. I have a page on Facebook, and I also go by my name on LinkedIn and also on Instagram and Twitter, but I'm on those other platforms more. And you can always send me a message on Instagram and on LinkedIn. My email address is there. My telephone contact is there. So please feel free to reach out.
And you know, people, there's no shame. There's no shame in reaching out for help. We all need help.
All, me included.
Yes, we all do. So let's get it done. 2021 is a new year. And in spite of everything that's going on around the world, we can make it our best year ever. That's going to do it for GPS Global Paradigm Shift today on Glory 93.9 FM. On behalf of all of our sponsors and my guests, Simmone, Bowe, and Michelle Malcolm, thanks so much for joining us. Have a good Monday, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.